Here's the news for this evening. Opposition leader accuses Granger administration of cronyism regarding the Demerara Harbor Bridge. Foreign Affairs Ministry says no official request has been made for repatriation of Guyanese affected by Hurricane Irma. The Canadians are in search of Guyana's oil and gas sector. Guyana's Teardrop and Trinidad's Benjai appear in court. We'll tell you why it wasn't entertaining.
From Safe TV headquarters in South Rivell Gardens, this is Safe TV Headline News with George Gonzalez.
Headline News is now being streamed live on our YouTube channel. Join us. While as President, opposition leader Barrett Jagdeo was accused of cronyism in connection with the Berbice River Bridge. Today, Mr. Jagdeo made similar claims of the David Granger administration, which is moving closer to the construction of a new Demerara Harbor Bridge. Wendell Jeffrey was at the press conference and filed this report.
The opposition leader is claiming bewilderment as he questioned how it is that the same location for the new Demerara Bridge can be the very same location of the one Stanley Ming suggested years ago.
One would recall that on March 20th, 2015, Mr. Stanley Ming made a presentation of a plan called Guyana 2030. And it was, Mr. Stanley Ming was a member of APNU. He was extremely critical even in that presentation of the People's Progressive Party, saying we were not listening to his wonderful plan. And APNU adopted the plan wholeheartedly.
Mr. Jagdeo is saying that because of the connection to the current government, the new bridge will now be anchored on Ming's land on the western side of the Demerara River.
Miraculously, this feasibility study now finds that location feasible, the most feasible.
Mr. Jagdeo is suggesting that Mr. Ming knew ever since the PPP was in power that the location of the bridge would benefit him. And now the government has changed, he has gotten his wish.
So Stanley Ming knew in 2015, without any feasibility study, he had already selected the site. And miraculously, the feasibility study supports this.
Mr. Jagdeo then handed out to the press corps a diagram from the government's feasibility study and design for the Demerara Harbor Bridge.
Now, I share the alignment there because based on that alignment that you see here, guess whose land on the Versailles side the bridge terminates on? Mr. Stanley Ming.
For Channel 2 Headline News, I am Wendell Jeffrey.
Thanks, Wendell. Overseas-based Guyanese continue to take to social media to voice their disappointment over the government's response to Hurricane Irma. Hundreds of Guyanese are said to be stranded on the impacted Caribbean islands, but the Ministry of Foreign Affairs claims that they have not received a formal request. Here's more. Minister of Foreign Affairs Carl Greenidge said that the government is committed to assisting overseas-based Guyanese affected by Hurricane Irma, but there has been no formal request for repatriation to his ministry.
Caribbean heads of government had a teleconference on Saturday to make an assessment of where we are, and one of the things emerging from that is very clear that the destruction in some areas, and I'm thinking primarily of St. Martin's, St. Bart's, Anguilla, British Virgin Islands in particular, has been pretty dramatic. In those cases, over 95% of communications infrastructure, sometimes other physical infrastructure, has been destroyed.
This week, the Private Sector Commission and the opposition leader, Barrett Jagdeo, called for the government to assist Guyanese in storm-ravaged nations in returning home. However, the communications blackout has caused much difficulty in this regard.
At this point in time, they are not able to give a comprehensive picture in each case. There are efforts to assess people's needs, and we have an idea of those.
Despite the calls for repatriation, Minister Greenidge claims that he has not received any such request from the victims themselves.
It is true that it has been said that some Guyanese would like to be repatriated. We have not received, let me say, any significant number of requests for such movement. That is in part because, of course, communication is poor, but it is also because in some instances, the Guyanese who are in these locations would prefer, at least in the first instance, certainly where there are adults and not injured, to remain and try to help to rebuild rather than to get up and leave at this point in time.
It is understood that the absence of such a request does not necessarily indicate an absence of need. Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu has been tasked with managing Guyana's contribution to the relief effort. Popular entertainer Teardrop found himself on the wrong side of the law. The Facebook famous entertainer, who boasts of having thousands of followers, was handcuffed and taken before the court, accused of executing a $1.1 million robbery. Esther Sobers is following the case and filed this report.
Leon Clark, a popular entertainer known as Teardrop, sang his innocence as he was handcuffed and taken to court charged with robbery. The 23-year-old appeared before Magistrate Fabio Azor at the Georgetown Magistrate Court and pleaded not guilty to the charge. It is alleged that on September 8, 2017, Clark, while in company with others, robbed Vincent Howard of over $1 million in cash and other items. Clark pleaded not guilty and said he's an entertainer with many followers on Facebook and he does not thief. The followers were non-existent for his court appearance. Clark, who works as a help attendant at the Georgetown Public Hospital, was placed on $75,000 bail and is expected to return to court October 4th. I'm Esther Sobers reporting for Channel 2 Headline News.
Thanks, Esther. At least 20 buildings, including the Wismar Christiansburg Secondary School and the Mackenzie Municipal Market, were left significantly damaged after a freak storm ripped through Linden at around 3:30 p.m. yesterday. Residents in Retrieve, 1 Mile Extension, Wismar Housing Scheme, Christiansburg and Blueberry Hill reported strong winds and heavy rains that ripped the roofs off of houses and damaged light posts. According to Mayor of Linden, Carwin Holland, the full extent of the damage has yet to have been assessed. But crews from the municipality and the Guyana Police Force are on the ground searching for those who need help. Thus far, there have been no reported injuries or deaths. Those who would like to help or are seeking assistance themselves are asked to call the MNTC emergency hotline at 444-6303 or the police at 444-3512. Coming up after the break, former President Barrett Jagbio continues to chastise the Commission of Inquiry into the president's assassination plot. And the Canadians are here for oil and gas. Stay with us.
This place is really hot. What's wrong with your AC?
It's not working.
Well, we wouldn't be able to continue this meeting anymore because this place is extremely hot.
Wait, please don't go.
Here's a company you can call to get your AC fixed. Action Cool.
Honey, what's dinner? I had a hard day. I'm sorry you have a hard day, but guess what, babes? I didn't cook today because the stove is not working.
Having trouble at home or at the office? Then call the professionals at Action Cool. Our fully trained technical team have the skills and experience in repairs of all air-conditioned units, refrigerators, gas stoves, washing machines, and a whole lot more. For further information, visit us at 86 Hill and Princess Street, Mandela Avenue, Georgetown, or call us on telephone number 225-7867.
On Sunday, September 17, 2017, the Central Housing and Planning Authority is inviting residents of Section C, Turkine and Cummins Park, Section C, Cummins Lodge, to a public consultation at the Washby Tarmac and Cummins Park multipurpose building, respectively. The consultation will address the reformulation of the road network upgrade and expansion program. The project, which will be undertaken through a loan from the Inter-American Development Bank and entails road upgrades, street lights and sidewalks, upgrades to playgrounds and community buildings, and subsidies for construction of core homes and home improvements. Starting time, 16 hours at both locations.
Styles, simply different.
Need a ride around town and beyond? Look no further than Oasis Ride Taxi Service. With affordable prices and some of the best drivers in the business, we've been delivering prompt and reliable service to Guyana for over 16 years. We also offer tours, chauffeur service, and even car rentals. You can call us at 231-5554 or 225-5496. For deals, specials, and more information, find our page on Facebook, Oasis Ride Taxi Service. Let's go.
Welcome to Kissoon's Furniture. Find everything you need for your home and more under one roof in our newly decorated showroom. Our locally crafted furniture has been perfected over the last 60 years. From our hands to your home, we also bring to you our newly introduced lines of imported furniture and sleep center, where you can find a wide range of beds and mattresses. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 60 years.
Welcome back. Former President Benjai believes that the Commission of Inquiry into the alleged plot to assassinate President David Granger is a waste of time, taxpayers' money, and a charade. Wendell Jeffrey covered the press conference and filed this report.
Yes, he could have. Jan says yes. He could have.
Do you think the opposition leader, former President Benjai, was responding to a question I asked? The question was if it was possible that President Granger could have orchestrated the failed plot to assassinate him. I then asked Mr. Jagdeo if he thinks that the President Granger, did indeed orchestrate the plot. This is how he answered that question.
Do you think the president orchestrated? I don't. That's a different question. You ask if he could, and I say, yeah, he could.
Mr. Jagdeo is making the argument that the whole plot was a charade to remove and punish senior police officers.
Something as frivolous as this is, the show that went on there.
The PPP's General Secretary said that he first thought the threat was credible until he realized that the claim was not made in 2017, but a full 2 years ago.
I was the first to say I thought it was a serious business. I said, when the president's life is at stake, you should have a serious investigation. Then I found out it was 2015, that this threat was made. Not last year, not 6 months ago, 2015. And in 2017, you're still engaged in that when you're taxing children and your education, and when people are losing their jobs. That's the charade that's going on there, the puppy show that they have over there.
For Channel 2 Headline News, I am Wendell Jeffrey.
Thanks, Wendell. Popular Trinidadian soca star Benjai is in Guyana, and this time it's not to perform any of his popular songs. Esther Sobers reports.
Trinidadian Rodney LeBlanc, popularly known as Benjai, is in Guyana for the trial of Maverick Diabru. Mr. Diabru is accused of attacking Benjai outside the Palm Court nightclub on the 16th of April 2017. It is said that Mr. Diabru jumped out of a car and pointed a gun to the artist's face while threatening to kill him. He then lashed the singer across the face with an object and drove off from the scene. Benjai was later rushed to the hospital where he underwent corrective surgery for a wound across his face. After listening to the case, the magistrate granted bail to the accused in amount of $50,000. Mr. Diabru is to reappear October 11th. I'm Esther Soap reporting for Channel 2 Headline News.
Thanks, Esther. An oil and gas trade commission from the land of the maple leaf is here on a familiarization tour. The Canadians have come because Guyana has petroleum, and they are seeking investments into that sector. The Minister of Business said Guyana welcomes interested investors. Wendell Jeffrey reports.
The Canadians are using their 50-year bilateral agreement with Guyana to field Canadian businesses into Guyana's budding oil and gas industry. Yesterday, a meet and greet with a trade delegation was convened at the Guyana Marriott. The focus is on formulating business contracts with an eye in expanding the oil and gas sector. Speaking at the conference, Minister of Business Dominic Gaskin put the government's position in perspective.
Now, I doubt whether there's anything I can tell you about oil and gas that you don't already know. Guyana is new to oil and gas, and we're currently on a very steep learning curve, and we're playing catch up with the industry.
The minister told the visiting delegation that Guyanese are very excited about the oil find and that the discovery of the new natural resource has brought about much discussion. He acknowledged that many people are now flocking to Guyana with more frequency, all looking for business opportunities.
There are a lot of experts advising on this. Some are advising the government officially, some are just giving free advice to the government and to anyone else who will listen. There's no shortage of opinions on what government needs to do to ensure that the Guyanese people become the beneficiaries of all that is going on.
The business minister acknowledged that his government is well aware of the implications in that oil is a non-renewable resource.
Our government understands that this is a huge, long-term private sector investment, and that the investors are planning to extract 450 million barrels of non-renewable resource from beneath our seabed.
He said that the government is fully aware of all the likely consequences relating to the sector. He said that they also know who they are dealing with.
We understand the implications of this. We understand what can happen if things go wrong and there's an accidental spill. We understand that we're dealing with a big and very sophisticated investor that has way more resources than we do.
Speaking to the controversy that is brewing in regards to the disparity between the billions of dollars in return that ExxonMobil stands to make in comparison to Guyana's share of the profit, the minister said this.
We also understand that any investor needs to get a certain return on their investment.
The Guyanese public is yet to know how much Exxon is investing, what is the rate of the return on their investment, and how long it will take Exxon to recoup their investment. The Granger administration has yet to release the ExxonMobil contract to the Guyanese people, even in the wake of multiple calls for them to do so. For Channel 2 Headline News, I am Wendell Jeffrey.
Thanks, Wendell. A grieving mother is refuting claims by the Guyana police force that her son was the rider of a motorcycle when he crashed and died. Esther Sobers reports.
Official police reports indicate that Sunil Samaru of Grove was found dead and his friend left critical following a motorcycle accident along Aubrey Barker Road on Monday. Police reports further say that Samaru was riding an unregistered motorcycle along with his pillion rider, Keith Brasilio, at the time of the accident. However, Samaru's mother, Marcel Chase, is refuting claims made by the police stating that her son was not riding the motorcycle.
Everything is just easy, but one of the point thing that was trying to get like people to know, he wasn't riding. He wasn't riding the bike. They say that he's riding because they don't want no problem to come out of it and everything, but he wasn't riding the bike. He just left just and he went to the market with me. He gonna pick up his daughter from school. He come back, she tell me good afternoon, and he left and he gonna drop she home. When we do get back messages is when he dead. When we do hear about is when he dead.
The woman said that when she visited the East La Penitence police station, the ranks at the time were all unaware of the accident that occurred and also reluctant to do their investigations. Both men were taken to the Woodlands Hospital in an unconscious state, but Keith was pronounced dead on arrival. I'm Esther Sobers reporting for Channel 2 Headline News.
Thanks, Esther. Don't go away. Still ahead, Venezuela's violence continues to be a concern for Trinidad and Tobago. Stay with us. Ride around town and beyond? Look no further than Oasis Ride taxi service. With affordable prices and some of the best drivers in the business, we've been delivering prompt and reliable service to Guyana for over 16 years. We also offer tours, chauffeur service, and even car rentals. You can call us at 231-5554 or 225-5496. For deals, specials, and more information, find our page on Facebook. Oasis Ride Taxi Service. Let's go.
On Sunday, September 17, 2017, the Central Housing and Planning Authority is inviting residents of Section C, Turkine and Cummins Park, Section C, Cummins Lodge, to a public consultation at the Washbit Tarmac and Cummins Park multipurpose building, respectively. The consultation will address the reformulation of the road network upgrade and expansion program. The project, which will be undertaken through a loan from the Inter-American Development Bank and entails road upgrades, street lights and sidewalks, upgrades to playgrounds and community buildings, and subsidies for construction of core homes and home improvements. Starting time, 16 hours at both locations.
This place is really hot. What's wrong with your AC?
It's not working.
Well, we wouldn't be able to continue this meeting anymore because this place is extremely hot.
Wait, please don't go.
Here's a company you can call to get your AC fixed. Action Cool.
Honey, what's dinner? I had a hard day.
I'm sorry you had a hard day, but guess what, babes? I didn't cook today because the stove is not working.
Having trouble at home or at the office? Then call the professionals at Action Cool. Our fully trained technical team have the skills and experience in repairs of all air-conditioned units, refrigerators, gas stoves, washing machines, and a whole lot more. For further information, visit us at 86 Hill and Princess Street, Mandela Avenue, Georgetown, or call us on telephone number 225-7867.
John Lewis Styles proudly introduces Everest Bags, a complete and affordable line especially suited for back to school. Lunch bags from $3,500, backpacks from $4,500, pulley backpacks from $10,995. Also available are messenger bags, computer bags, waist pouches, duffel bags, gym bags, and even camping bags, all for the same price or less than buying online. And it's already here on Waterloo Street. John Lewis Styles, simply different.
Welcome back. And now for news from the region. Venezuela's ongoing crisis is of much concern, with anti-government protests and dozens of people having been killed in protest-related violence since April. On Tuesday, a UWI forum examined the situation. Here's more in this report from C News.
Venezuela's current status with anti-government protests and the dozens of people killed in protest-related violence since April were examined at a Euroforum on Tuesday. It was revealed that there are fears of the danger which this circumstance is presenting to the Caribbean states as crime makes its way outside Venezuela's borders. Marie-Therese Bernard has more.
Retired Director of the Institute of International Relations, Anthony Gonzalez, says the instability in Venezuela is affecting the entire territory with both negative and positive effects.
In a perverse way, we can say that, as Ivan was pointing out, the fact that rich Venezuelans come to these shores and they bring a lot of their capital, they have been fleeing with their capital to various parts of the region, Panama, Colombia, the United States, and so forth, Dominican Republic. Some of them have come here, and we have observed that here in this country. I don't know how to quantify it, and I don't like to consider that a positive effect because it's negative in Venezuelan terms and so on. It's not capital moving to invest normally as we know it. It's people running with money and trying to stack it over here.
The other side, highlighting the less savory parts of the process, involves crime and groups related to this harmful element.
The negative side is much more significant as I see it, because what you're getting is a spillover of a lot of organized crime, a spillover of drug trafficking. Venezuela is the largest supplier of drugs to the United States. 80% of the drugs that go into the United States come through Venezuela. There are 3 major drug routes that come through Venezuela right now up to the United States. 2 parts very close to Trinidad. And what we are seeing, for example, in this country to some extent is a result of that is occurring right here.
He says the situation would be even worse if, as reported, the government is involved in the disagreeable business.
It is claimed that the government is involved with, or arms of the government are involved with FARC, the Zetas and the Sinaloas and all these things from Mexico. All these groups are inside Venezuela, working with the state, arms of the state, and they are moving these drugs up to the United States. So you're dealing with a pretty serious problem. Our colleague mentioned, for example, the question of human trafficking. That is a very serious problem in Venezuela. The United States has pointed it out, and we are seeing some of the consequences of that here.
Dr. Gonzalez warns that while more developed states may be able to deal with the criminal elements expanding out of Venezuela, smaller island states like ours may want to look more carefully at what he says could well be a serious national security threat. Marie-Therese Bernard, C News.
Refugees from Venezuela have increased to some extent in Trinidad and Tobago in 2017. According to Coordinator for Migrants and Refugees in the Living Waters Foundation, Rochelle Naked, the estimated figure is 40,000.
For years that the Caribbean has also been affected by conflicts happening around the world. I mean, we've had an increasing number of Syrians seeking asylum here. We've had Bangladeshis seeking asylum. We've had Cubans. We've always had Cubans. And the Cubans actually still remain the #1 group of persons seeking asylum. However, we do expect that by the end of the year, it's going to plateau with the Venezuelans. And by early next year, we believe there'll be a spike and Venezuelans will become the #1 group of persons seeking asylum in Trinidad, that is.
Ms. Naked says that Venezuelans are the second largest number of people seeking refuge at this time in Trinidad, and legislation is passed here as well as throughout the region.
Outside of Belize, no other country in the Caribbean has legislation to protect refugees. Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica do have a policy in Trinidad that was adopted in June 2014, and we're actively working towards drafting legislation in that regard.
She notes Trinidad and Tobago is bound by the 1951 Convention on the Status of Refugees and must assist them. She urges us to remember that a refugee is a person who has a well-founded fear of persecution based on race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. Even so, she says there are problems associated with refugees.
What we're seeing is a large huge amount of exploitation of these persons who found themselves in an irregular situation in the country. And it's something that there's no easy way to address it.
Ms. Naked acknowledges that our twin island state is doing its best to address the problem, But she says the influx of Venezuelan nationals has not been overwhelming and it is expected to level off by end year.
And now for the weather forecast. And that's Channel 2 Headline News for this evening, the 13th of September 2017. As we take our leave, we invite you to find Channel 2 Headline News on Facebook, YouTube, and ch2headlinenews.com. You can also tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 for a rebroadcast, and Thursday evening at 7 o'clock for more news. For now, I'm George Gonzalez, signing out from this newscast, saying thank you for welcoming us into your homes, and do have a blessed evening.